It's been kind of like another week for me. I mean, other than the drama outside of real estate, the market's kind of gone on. Welcome to our home buyer seminar. We do this every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We talk about all things real estate, buy your first house or trade up into a house. I'm Bill Gross. I'm a broker here in Los Angeles, California, with my colleague
Patricia Castillo.
And our good friend and colleague
Gustavo Segura. Hello.
That's Gustavo Segura for those of us gringos who don't quite speak the lingo. And glad to have you today. Hey, Gustavo, how about those mortgage rates, man?
Yeah, I mean they keep on, this week was a good week, but they've been going up and down, over the last 60 days probably. It was mostly up, but this week definitely it helped out. Uncertainty in the market, the bank situations, that kind of chaos definitely helps mortgages because investors tend to flock towards secure investments, which are bonds. So then that always helps out. And then interest rates begin to drop. As more people want bonds and long-term security, they start to drop as far as interest rates.
Amazing. When this bank thing started, rates jumped up to 7%, again, 7.1.
Yeah.
Kind of hairy. And then again, I think on Friday or Monday, 7.05, kind of scary. And then boom, down to 6.5, and today we're at 6.55. So kind of in the range that 6 to 7 has been all year long. I would say it's scary enough to give you gray hair, but Gustavo, you don't look a day older. We started this, so apparently you're handling the stress pretty well.
It's like you kind of get used to it, right? You're on the roller coaster, and there's going to be ups and downs here. So it's been interesting because we pre-qualify someone. I go ahead and pre-qualify them, and then 2-3 days later, it's like, well, that's changed. 0.25%, maybe even 0.5%, right? You saw that 6.5, 7.0. So it's been interesting conversations.
I'm sure there are a lot of lenders who got bailed out today because they kept promising customers 6.5, and they didn't really lock it in, and they're faced with a big loss, and all of a sudden the rate drops in, and they're like off the hook. And so there's around the United States, there's thousands of loan officers who were able to deliver what they promised, and the customers don't realize how close they were to getting taken advantage of.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's very true, and a lot of times. It's very hard because the borrower wants to, obviously secure their investment, and so do we. But if they're not ready to lock in, you don't want to lock in for 30 days or 60 days, something that's not necessary. So it's very hard to on their side and on our side to be able to predict what's going to happen here.
Yeah, and especially every day the rates have literally been changing.
Yeah,
and so. If let's just say, the rates, like, for example, they came down today to 6.55, as Bill just showed us the data. Let's say somebody locks in today, because that's a question I received recently. Let's see, somebody locks in today for a 30-year at 6.55, and later on this month, the rates drop down to maybe 6% or right below. So does it cost anything to relock the rate, or how do you handle that? Do you cancel the original rate lock and just relock it as a new rate lock?
Yeah, so there's the lenders will take a look at that because they're taking the risk one way or another, and I guess you can say so is the borrower. So in this kind of environment, mostly we're expecting the rate to go down if more data comes out that inflation is going down, but
and that no more banks are failing.
Exactly. If no more, but it's hard to predict. But the lenders are taking that long-term risk on there. So if the rate does drop, it depends on how much it drops, they can float it down, or because they don't want to lose that loan too, right? They know that consumer may just walk out to somebody else. But some lenders are sticking to that where, hey, what if the rate would have gone up? Then they lose out, right? They don't come back to the borrower and say, hey, can we lift your rate up a little bit now, to help us out?
Can we charge you more and increase your rate and your
exactly.
monthly payment?
Yeah, that's not part of it, right? So the banks, for the most part, they will be good about it and they will float it down. But in worse situations where they won't, then we just, when we find a new bank, a new lender that might be able to help them out.
And is there somewhat of a, like a max, like what's the range? Let's say if the lender were to float it down, where would they cap off at?
They would have to be a big drop. So we're talking probably like a quarter or more
Mhm.
for them to be able to agree like, hey, this is a market change, because they start setting up precedents, and on their side, there's a lot of a risk that they're taking on, and they're trying to prevent against. So let's say in the last week, right, or 2 weeks, somebody comes in, they lock them in, and then at 7, and then it goes down, and they're like, okay, fine, we'll get you back down, right, 6.7, right, and then it goes back up to 7, and they're like, oof, we're good. And then it comes back, and now it's at 6.5. So the bar comes back and is like, well, now can you get me down to 6.5? So it's tough for the lenders to work with that. It's not something that they're just going to keep on doing it, because it could be, once or twice a week that they just keep on doing this. So that's why they suggest not to lock. That's why when we look at things, it's like, do you have a contract already? Do you have an offer that's accepted? And if you do, then let's go ahead and lock it.
Right.
If not, then it's not worth it to be locking up just for the sake of it, because there is a cost to it on the lender side. And once they're eating up those costs, then guess what? They're going to go ahead and adjust all their rates for all the new customers, because they do have to make up that cost.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you return something, and you're like, hey, this thing didn't work out, and the retailer takes that back, and they're going to take a loss on it, right? But eventually, if they take enough of those, they're going to have to start raising the prices on some of the other items, and even that same one.
Right.
Yeah,
You have to recover somewhere.
exactly. So that's kind of what ends up happening. They do hedge against it on the secondary market and all that, but it's hard for them to be up and down with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's true, because I have an offer out right now on a property that my client really liked. We made an offer on it. It's in Rialto, and it's a fix and flip. So right now, the owners, which are the investors, they had so many people. They had like 40 groups coming through the open house this weekend, and they've had showings since then. But they can't accept any FHA borrowers right now, which were the majority of the borrowers coming through, because of that fix and flip rule with FHA. They can't accept an offer until the beginning of April. So right now they're mainly looking at conventional buyers, but there aren't that many conventional buyers. So the agent just sent me an email today and said, out of all those people, they have 6 offers. So I thought, after all those 40 groups and additional showings throughout the week, you've only got 6 offers. But it makes sense, because most of them are FHA. And with this property, because it is a fix and flip, they're just, they're looking for the highest offer price. The longer they hold the property, the deeper it costs them as far as their profits. So we'll see. We're waiting to hear back, and hopefully we get some good news.
Yeah, that's great.
So there's that going on. We're in the March buying season. Seems like there's a little more activity, a little more interest in moving up, investing, though at the same time, a lot of fear in the market. What do you see what are you hearing from customers? Personally, I deal more with sellers. They're going to sell property when they're ready to. But I do have buyers in escrow, and they're seem just to move along, and they watch the news and go, wow, that's too bad, and just keep going about their business. What do you hear, Gustavo or Patricia, in relation to the current drama of the news?
Yeah, I mean, I just took a listing yesterday in Corona, and they're just
whoa, look how she just throws that in there nonchalant. There's a time in your life, honey, that was a big deal,
right? Yeah,
I remember when.
It's busy. In other words, I haven't really had, clients telling me that they're fearful of buying or selling. On the contrary, they're people that need to sell are going to sell. There's closings that are happening every day. And the fourplex property I had in Huntington Park that actually closed Friday, seller was really excited. And, I took another listing yesterday in Corona. That's a beautiful home, and I'm sure it's going to sell quickly. So, like I said, there's buyers that are serious about buying, and at the end of the day, they just need a place to live. And with the interest rates fluctuating, it just depends on what they really qualify for. And like Gustavo said, we're not locking anybody in prematurely. We want to make sure that, buyers are committed to the process, actively looking. And once we start making offers and we get accepted, then at that point, probably look at locking in the rate. But the people that I'm talking to and the conversations I'm having are all pretty positive as far as the time we're at right now of the year. Most buyers want to get into a home and get there. If they have children, they want to get them into the school district before, by the time summer rolls around or the ending of summer, and get ready for the new school year that starts, later around August or September. So pretty good conversations, I've been having this week, and recently just people that are really actively looking and are serious about it. They're selling and still getting a pretty high dollar amount for their home. Some clients have asked me, do you think prices are going to drop a lot more? I really don't see that happening right now because the demand has been pent up for so long. That's what's holding the prices where they're at. And with the rates kind of fluctuating, that isn't really a thing anymore. I mean, the rates are what the rates are. And if you can afford the payment, that's great. There's ways to buy it down, whether you pay for it or the seller. So if the scenario works for the client, they're still going to move forward, regardless of which bank failed or, anything like that. They're not even really looking at that right now. They're still looking at their scenario and what they can accomplish.
Yeah. I mean, I think, a year ago or a year and a half ago when the market was at its peak, you'd have 20 offers on a property. Now you have 5. And it's a lot slower, but it's still pretty darn good. And I think that's the difference people understand is it was out of control a year and a half ago. Now it's just a normal, good, healthy market in our area. And in particular, there's just not much property. I mean, one of the things that's clear to me is for all the talk about, affordability and is it good for buyers or not, what I can say is the market is where it is. And the prices are not going to drop much in LA because they can't go down much because there's only so many houses. It used to be everybody thought they could buy a house and live the American dream. Now you have some young people don't want to buy a house anymore. That's changed. And also the prices are such that we have kind of a 2-tier society with people who can own things, and then we have the rest that are working and own nothing. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm certainly not saying it's good, but I think the reality is our political system is not going to build any more houses in California to keep up with the number of people. So if you have more people in the same number of houses, eventually you have a lot of people who can't buy.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't take it personal, but those are just the numbers. And I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying that's where we are.
That's where we're at today. Yeah, I mean, Gustavo and I are working on a deal, and we keep looking at the rates, and I keep calling him and texting him sometimes at 9:00 at night. Did the loan approval change at all? Can we push the price up a little bit? Because, every little bit helps right now. So we're just, continuously looking at the approvals that are on the table and seeing how we can massage those according to what the rates are doing every day. So yeah, it's a good time right now. Market's still busy. And like you said, it's a healthier time right now. It's not as cutthroat as it was a year ago, where you had if you didn't have an extra $50,000 laying around, don't even bother making an offer, because you had to be prepared, and buyers were conditioned to offer over asking and a ridiculous amount just to get their offer even looked at. So it's a much healthier market right now for buyers.
And on the loan side, it is hard because they may qualify still, but as the rate changes, it's a mental thing, right? So before maybe they were paying $4,000 total with property taxes and insurance and everything, mortgage insurance. But then all of a sudden the rate changes up a little bit, and now it's $4,400, right? So it's 4 days ago, it's $400 less.
Right.
So it is tough on the consumer side mentally, I think, to go through that up and down roller coaster as well. So I can definitely understand some hesitation at times, fear, and uncertainty about like, well, what is the rate going to be next week? Is it next week? Is it going to be back to $400 less? You know, there's some changes, you know, that will help. We all know about the FHA. Mortgage insurance premium changing. So, you know, it's making FHA a little bit more affordable compared to conventional because of the rates. But there's maybe properties that don't accept FHA, or, you know, they're not looking at them as they should. And I'm hoping that they do take a look at FHA loans, because we have borrowers that are qualified, that have a great payment, and it's cheaper than a conventional loan, you know. So there's a lot of options out there still.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just talking to people that are dedicated to this process every day, day in and day out. So if anybody has any questions about anything, you know, always feel free to give us a call. We're here to help you and guide you guys along the process, and just look at your scenario and see what's going to make more sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. Market is still active, busy. I'm busy. I'm wiped. It's been a busy day. I got another listing out. I got some other stuff to take care of. Patricia just took a listing and closed the deal like it's nothing. Yeah, listed, closed.
Working on the next one.
Beautiful. Gustavo, you doing business? Everything good?
Yeah, definitely. We got pre-approvals. You know, it's just a matter of finding properties for them and being able to, you know, get those offers accepted. Even if there's 5 or 6, right, that's competition right there. So, you know, it's not 20, but people are still, you know, having to compete, even if it's with 3 or 4 other offers. And, you know, I'm telling, and I'm seeing a lot of people that are coming in with loan quotes from other lenders where they're just getting charged a lot more money. They're getting charged 1 or 2 points for the same rate that I have for them, or even a higher rate. So that's where, you know, we mentioned this before, where it's people got to shop around, take a look around, you know, take a look to see what other lenders are helping you with. Sometimes lenders have small incentives. It's kind of like having a sale, right? Online shopping versus going directly to the mall. You don't have time to walk to every store. But if you go online, you can definitely do a lot more shopping. And I definitely help consumers with that, you know, being able to just take a look at different lenders and see what rates are out there that can be beneficial for them in this market.
Yeah, I remember years ago, I had applied online for a loan, and then my phone just started ringing off the hook. I mean, call after call after call. So,
Yeah.
You know, I would advise anybody, don't do that, because your phone will not stop ringing all day long. You'll keep getting text messages and phone calls once you hit that submit button on the online platform. So just reach out to us or Gustavo and just, you know, get at least a soft pull going so that we can look at your scenario and see what it might look like without getting all those phone calls, without being bombarded with calls.
Yes, definitely. You're right. When they go ahead and they get a lead, you know, a lead form, right? That lead form is sold to, you know, like you said, many lenders. And then you have to go through all that process. So definitely, you know, let us know. We'll help you go through that process for you.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for those you watching on the live stream on YouTube, Facebook. I don't think I saw any. Oh, hold it. All kinds of comments there. Whoa, I wasn't like paying attention.
That's it. Come on.
Facebook. Patricia, are you sellers concerned about their purchase and what measures are you using to bridge that sell to buy gap?
Are the sellers concerned about their purchase?
Right. Meaning you have sellers who are selling and then they need to
right.
buy something.
Not necessarily, because the rates have come down. And as you know, we're talking about, there are ways to mitigate that higher interest rate, I should say. And because they are cashing out a good amount of equity on their home, they have a substantial amount for a down payment, which also helps to lower the payment that the sellers are going to be paying. So it's not just based on the interest rate, it's also based on the amount of money that you're going to put down on your new purchase.
And then we got another question as well from Facebook. a comment, I should say, we're reaching cruising level in housing. I think that's a fair way to put it. We're kind of I think we're kind of a standard level. It's March and people are busy, and I think it's a good assessment, whoever that is on Facebook. Thank you for your comment. And then it's a safer market for buyers not having to waive inspections and contingencies meant to protect them. I think that's a very good comment. What do you think, Patricia?
Absolutely. I didn't like seeing that the last 2 years where buyers were waiving everything just to get, and offering a high amount just to get their offer looked at. You know, I always advocate for my clients having their home inspection done and then seeing what they're actually buying, because you never know. I sold a property in Los Angeles last year, and there was $7,000 of termite damage in the attic. Who goes into the attic to check? Nobody. If you're waiving the inspection and all inspections, you're not going to know that you have dry rot up in the attic and that those pillars are going to be collapsing. So you definitely want to have an inspection done, always.
We had an inspection in my house. We found droppings in the attic and had to take care of that. So, but we just did a normal course inspection. Yeah, I would agree. I think it's good to not force the issue and give buyers a chance to do things safely and in an orderly manner. I'll tell you, there's still some real estate agents that operate in the old game. Literally yesterday, I have a property that's a listing that's a tear down. It's a house, but it's completely falling apart in a nice area. So somebody's going to scrape it and build a beautiful home on it. And we got this all cash, 5-day closing offer. But there's a fence around the property, and they haven't been inside the property. And and then the agent's secretary calls me and says, we want to see the property to blah blah blah. And I said, have you been to it yet? Have you been to the property? You sure? Oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong. It was an FHA offer.
Oh, no.
I said, have you seen the property? Well, no, we have an FHA lender. He's great. He can do magic. I said, no. I said, you driven the property? Have you driven the property? Do you look at the pictures in the MLS? Are you sure? And she insists, because she doesn't know. She's some, nice secretary who's, hired by this real estate agent. The real estate agent's too busy on the phone, but she's trying to, and then she, well, can I set an appointment for you to talk to my agent? I said, or my lender. I said, just drive the property, have your lender drive the property, and call me from there. I'd be glad to talk to you about it. But otherwise, there's not much to talk about. So,
yeah. Exactly.
Real estate's crazy, man. Crazy business. Hey, let's wrap up on that. Patricia, any last words?
Yep. If you're interested in buying or selling, give us a call. We'll walk you through the process. Don't listen to all the noise that's out there right now. It's important to focus on your own situation and how we can help you get through this time right now. So it's still competitive out there, but not like it was 2 years ago. So give us a call. And I can be reached at 323-365-9909.
When you're not in the ocean, they're in your backyard.
When I'm not hanging out here by the palm trees, sipping my coffee.
Exactly. Coffee. Sure. Coffee. We all believe that one. Gustavo, any last words for us today?
I always tell people, definitely be aware of what's out there. But like Patricia said, there's a lot of news that are very harsh that will make the news. And that's not sometimes the reality. So you hear about the Fed fund going up, you hear about the bank collapses, but those kinds of things really can be positive for the mortgage side, because as inflation is coming down, the rates come down, which is why this week we've been having much better rates than before. So all the news that have been happening, actually it's helping the mortgage rates come down. So definitely give us a call and we'll help you with your situation.
Fantastic. Well, again, on behalf of Gustavo and Patricia, I'm Bill Gross. We do this every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Homebuyer Seminar. Come join us next week. We live stream it on our social media. Put comments on there. Usually I'm a little more on top of paying attention to responding to them timely. But if you watch this recording and you have questions, we'll answer them as well. So on behalf of Patricia and Gustavo, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.